to the Quench Water Cooler Podcast. I'm Gwendolyn Burton Staples, your host. Before we dive into episode 6, I want to remind you to visit our informative website at www.quenchwater.com. Explore our product pages, get to know our company, dive into industry related resources, and log into our new customer portal. And don't forget to click on the YouTube and Spotify icons at the bottom of our website to catch up on our podcast episodes. Now let's jump into episode 6 as we sit down with Nestle Nespresso's very own Stacy Johnson. Stacy is the National Manager of Learning and Enablement and DE&I ERG leader. This is amazing. So this is not just about coffee. It's about the state of our people and the state of our businesses and how they collide. So just thank you so much, Stacy. And if you want to speak on your title, I think your title speaks volumes. So I would love for you to just speak on that.
Sure. So thank you for having me today, Gwendolyn, and the Quench family. My name is Stacey Johnson, as you mentioned. I've been with Nespresso a little over 13 years. I've been in the human capital part of the business or in HR for over 25. And I've worked with a lot of different brands, right? I will say that Nespresso is doing so many things in the back end that I couldn't be more prouder of. In regards to my role, I do manage all of the learning and the development for the B2B sales force. I manage all of our culture in the United States for all parts of our business, trade, retail, corporate. And then I also manage all of our DE&I. So our DE&I initiatives along with our ERGs. And I'm the executive sponsor of Black at Nespresso. So a lot of different hats that I wear, but all of them kind of delineate down to people and purpose. I think that's a huge part of what we try to achieve here at Nespresso. To have that as my sole responsibility has been nothing short of an honor, right? I think we've all had jobs that are great, and you have jobs that are really, really great. I think this job and the resources I have at my disposal allow for me to really humanize the Nespresso experience or Nespresso learning journey for both our internal and external partners. So that's, I believe, what we're going to talk about today a little bit.
Thank you so much, Stacy. And yes, let's discuss how Nespresso continues to balance economic, environmental, and social concerns. Just me kind of doing my own research on Nespresso and Nestle. Um, Again, you guys just don't sell coffee. You your company goes beyond in different initiatives that I've taken into my everyday life. I love Nespresso, but I love what you guys do in the background, and it's amazing. So can we discuss some of those pieces?
I think that as brands, and I think everyone that has the opportunity to listen to this podcast, you guys can attest. Brands need to be purpose driven, right? And that definition or that lens for which we view what purpose means is different for everybody. We talk about our impact from a societal standpoint, from an environmental standpoint, from economic standpoint. We have a variety of different levers that we like to interject into our business model that allow for our partners or our customers or our clients to find something of value if they choose to partner with Espresso. And when I say partner, it could be as simple as having a virtual line machine at your house, right? And making the conscious choice to buy our coffee, to have us be the experience that you interact with first thing in the morning or maybe in the afternoon, depending on your day. And I think for that, we take a lot of pride in it, right? Because you didn't have to select Nespresso. I think when it comes to CBG goods in general, or just any way we spend our money, our dollars are the vote for the world we want tomorrow, right? I mean, I'm more mindful of the brands I purchase because I know what they stand for. If I might get spend a little bit more money on a fleece because it's Patagonia, and Patagonia is B Corp certified. I know they treat their employees well. There's this whole ecosystem of social impact I know they're involved in. For me, I feel better about buying a t-shirt or a backpack or a fleece from Patagonia because of what they stand for. And I think that over the course of the last 5 to 10 years, how consumers buy goods, what consumers choose to select, that profile's changed, right? I mean, there's always going to be I want to get the best deal. And I think that's just human nature, right? We want to make sure we're being wise about our spend. But when we say being wise, it's not just about the bottom line, right? It's more amplified. And so I think in that in our ability to enhance or amplify how we spend our money, we're being choosier. And so making a good deal or good decision or a better choice isn't necessarily 5 for 5, or buy one, get one free. It's
Right.
how are they treating their workers? What's their labor practices like? Are they being environmentally conscious on how they're depleting resources from the environment and putting them back into the ecosystem, right? Are they being socially responsible there? Do they do more outside of just their vein of expertise, more than just coffee, more than just sneakers, more than just watches, right? And so that storyline allows for consumers to be able to feel like they're part of that journey, right? So you're buying more than just a product, but you're buying into a choice of how you want society to be able to be protected, right? And I think that's rare. And I think that companies that do that, and there are plenty out there, they know that, you know, the buying cycle or consumption is bigger than themselves, right? There's a level of self-awareness that has to be added or layered onto the way companies show up in the consumer space. And so when we think about that, and they kind of tie back to the choices we made as a brand, I'm very passionate, but I'm also very excited that we're doing so many different things on so many different levels to protect this ecosystem of purpose, right? So that way, when consumers come to us, depending on whatever your purpose is, there's something that we're already doing that we're giving you visibility into that's going to feed into what you perceive as the best purpose. And I think that's something that's paradigm. That's a
I
really long
agree.
answer.
No, I agree because I think over the last decade or a little over, brands have started to define their purpose because now as a consumer, yes, I do like a good deal, but I want to know what's behind what's going on in the manufacturing, what type of community efforts, what type of environmental planning is this company doing? Am I contributing to something good? Not just bringing a good home, but and I love that Nespresso is highly transparent about their sustainable practices. And again, I wasn't aware of sustainability before I started with Quench or Water Logic, therefore. So now that I see that when you work for a company that has the good, not just the goods, for our community, that plays pretty much majority of why I pick the brands that I do, and that's from food to things that I wear to self care that I even my
Yeah.
skincare that I pick. The foods that I put into my body, my family's body, that means something. So brands now, like I said, within the last decade or a little over, they have prioritized their brand to show the good that they do. And I love the transparency of Nespresso, and I commend Nespresso. I know I'm just the consumer, but the consumers, they're looking, and I'm glad that the brands are looking and they're listening to their consumers. um in addition to these internal actions, individuals can also engage with industry players to promote more sustainable practices and drive positive change. This might involve participating in sustainability conferences or events, joining industries, associates, or networks focused on sustainability, or collaborate with other organizations. Nespresso collaborates with Quench, and we appreciate that partnership. And you mentioned partnership. That's just not with businesses, but that's with your consumer who has a product in their home as well. Explain the importance of not just a partnership between a business and a consumer, but at the end, what does partnership mean to Nespresso or to Nestle?
And that's a big question. So I'm going to
Yes.
delineate that down to my small group.
Yeah.
The partnership, to your point, can mean a lot of things, right? There's a collaborative nature naturally integrated into the term partnership. I think that we do a good job of recognizing this is what we're good at, right?
Mhm.
But when we talk about our 2030 positive cup and in those 5 pillars that make up that commitment we have for the next 4.5 years, 5.5 years, wow, it's almost 2025.
Yes.
5.5 years, we were mindful enough to know what we know and also know what we don't know, to take on the right partners that will help us develop KPIs that are lofty but still achievable and hold us accountable, right? Because we're going to make this, grandiose statement and say, hey, we at Espresso are committed to these 4 things, and we are going to find these 5 things, and we're going to have these partners externally who have no skin in the game when it comes to Nespresso hold us accountable, right? Call us to the front of the class if we're not doing the things we're committing to doing, right? We're not hitting these milestones, these benchmarks. And I think in doing that, it allows for us to have more integrity in the results we put forward, right? It also allows for us to learn a bit about our individual systems and processes and programs, right? How can we be better? How can we continue to evolve? I think in partnerships, whether that is a sales partnership like we have with Clinch, a partnership that we are doing to enhance customer experience like with Starbucks, a partnership that we have from a social economic standpoint like Thrive Scholar or Ally Fortney Center. Every single one of those partnerships needs to be molded and curated specifically for, leaning into each other's best strengths, right? And also being mindful if someone within the partnership can lead you or teach you or help you grow in certain spaces where you might not, we might have spaces of opportunity, right? I think as a business entity, we do a really good job understanding that we don't know everything. And everything we do know, we feel like, we're very innovative as a brand, but we always can learn more. We always can do more. We always can push more. And you're going to be bigger and better if you allow other partners to give you some insights and vice versa, right? So that virtual cycle of communication and respect and integrity in what we do. And you see that across brands that are doing really well right now because they know, hey, I'm really great at creating socks, but I'm not great at creating hats. So let me partner with this company and we can kind of learn from each other. I think, Quinch does a really great job with addressing their client base, the storytelling around what you guys do. I think, on your commitment to sustainability, I mean, come on, it's rock solid. And I think being able to bring the right partners into the game to help amplify those elements that we do together, we do in tandem, only increases what we can do as a collective group, right? You see a lot of these cross collaborations. You mentioned, how you are being choosier in what you put into your body, right? And I always joke because I always say, we didn't care so much about the background of what we were wearing, what we were driving. But once, organic took off about 15 years ago, everyone's like, oh, organic, right? Mm-hmm. And then people started to be more mindful of like the types of food they put into their body because that's a direct impact on your health and well-being that you can see and you can feel, right? That same level of passion, that same level of integration and involvement is now being transferred to our goods, right? And goods mean not necessarily consumables, but goods meaning, vehicles and goods, things that we can't, we don't see an instant impact in. We know that the choice we made by selecting vehicle X over vehicle Y is going to have a lasting impression on the world that our children are going to inherit, right? Or our godchildren, whomever is in your ecosystem as a family, will have that in 10, 15 years, right? So people are now being more mindful of how they're putting the pieces together in their puzzle to have something that sits behind them to be proud of. So I think partnerships are a very powerful way to help get some of those insights over the finish line, right? And so we see these partnerships that may seem random at first glance in a lot of different categories, but once you kind of peel back the onion and look at what the DNA of those brands, you're like, oh, I see the synergy, I see the juxtaposition between what they're trying to achieve, what we're trying to achieve, and why that partnership works, right? And I think that's the beauty of it, right? Is the partnerships that can always grow and change and evolve. It's a relationship.
Yes.
And so how do we nurture that relationship with our partners is key.
And Nespresso does an amazing job with that. Nestle does an amazing job with that. I see the LinkedIn and I see how your pods and your coffee filters they're sustainable, right? They use them to make this really creative bike. There's so many things that you guys use.
So much.
Yeah. Yes. And like I said, I go to your LinkedIn, daily, and I see all these creative ways and initiatives that you work with your partners and you create these amazing things, but you also teach your consumers on why this is good for you, right? Sometimes we put out, with marketing or anything, you say this is good for your body, but you guys give us the why and the how, and you put it back into the community with education and learning tools for your consumers and even your employees. So your team members, we like to call our employees our team members. I'm sure you guys do too. But how does the company leverage these values to create a thriving and inclusive workplace culture that attracts, retains, and inspires top talent?
I love you said inspire. So the culture, I culture hat now, so I'm gonna switch gears here slightly.
Okay.
So culture to me is the only reason I get up in the morning and go into work, right? That's one of my biggest choices that I have. Like our team is talented. I I'll go to bat for anyone on our team. We have a very talented sales force, a very talented team across the entire Nespresso organization. But talent's only half the battle, right? We want people to come into work and be excited about what we're doing, be proud to wear that Nespresso in on their name tag if that's what they wear, on their book bag or whatever it is, that insignia. But just to be excited, right? We want our employees to feel inspiration, we want them to feel cared for. We want them to see the actions that we're doing, the choices that we're making that are feeding into our mission statement or our overall purpose that we are committed to as a brand. But also we want to tap into that innovation side of things, right? So we allow for our employees to really create the space that they want, what's important to them. I think from an engagement standpoint, right? We think about the Googles, right? I always watch Google, Salesforce, Oracle. I love seeing this fight for talent in the tech scene because
Yeah.
they were doing this first, right? They started to give things outside of just here's a great salary. We have a good, software product. People wanted more, right? They wanted to be with brands that were doing other things outside of just creating a good product. I think that's our parents, corporate ecosystem. Now you have to do more. And the brands that are doing more, they're saying, you know what, we are great at coffee. That's fantastic. But there are so many things happening in the atmosphere and the areas around us. We need to find a way to give back. So from a global standpoint, we have a ton of things that we do that we integrate into our coffee communities, right? Whether that is Future Farmer program that allows for farmers in very specific regions to put money aside so they can have the opportunity to retire, right? Whether it's creating clean water in the Congo, right? So that the coffee farmers there can have access to clean water, but because we're so successful in selling that Congo coffee, you see this resonate throughout other villages, right? So now we're able to create more and more clean water sources throughout that region, whether it is supporting female agronomists and really bringing gender equality into the coffee space, where that's a really male dominated world. And so women never had the opportunity or had very few opportunities to learn about coffee farming and to put something forward within the coffee scape, right? So changing that narrative there and giving females the tools and resources to be able to really impact their local coffee communities, right? To do more, to have those types of robust careers. From a local standpoint, in the DE&I and me, I could not be prouder of my ERG leaders. I have a little less, I'd say about 15 of them, and they really bring passion projects to the front of our conversations daily. And those that are not familiar with ERGs or employees resource groups, and they support and recognize, they support under marginalized communities within the broader employee space, right? So Black at Nespresso, our Pan Asian ERG, Nespresso Pride, so on and so forth, right? And in that, we're able to connect with third parties and do something that has nothing to do with coffee at all, but it's about creating a good space, a good society, giving back. So with Thrive Scholars, working with Thrive Scholars, if you go on our B2C website, we have a few left now, but we used to have a whole library of accessories that you could buy, and a large amount of those proceeds would go to those organizations directly to continue doing the work that they're doing. LA Foreigner Center really focusing on homeless LGBTQ plus youth, right? And then making volunteer opportunities to our employees. They can go to these places and help, clean houses that the youth live in, give back whenever they want, whether it's God's Love We Deliver, or Feeding America, American Forestry. These are all local entities in the U.S. market that we are constantly, in the B2B ecosystem especially, putting funds back into so that we can feel good about the communities that we sit in, right? And so for that particular reason, we create an inherent system of value that has nothing to do with, being the manager of marketing. It has nothing to do with, being a co-pilot in finance. Those jobs are great and they are fantastic at their jobs, but now they have another layer of their purpose at work outside of their roles and responsibilities, right? And everyone's looking for some level of purpose. If the 2020 and onward have taught us nothing else, brands can't sit in that gray space. You either have to give back and do more, or stop saying that you're going to give back and do more because people are doing their research, right? And you shouldn't do it because people are doing the research. You should do it because it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. I think the ERG space allows for us to have different, like all these micro communities that regardless of what you want to do, you can lean into a community where you feel recognized. You can lean into a community where maybe you're a minority in that community. You just want to listen and learn. Maybe you want to be an ally, an advocate. Totally up to you. But these safe spaces that you create as a company allows for you to have that capability to think outside of yourself, right? And to find innovative ways that we can inspire employees to act in areas they may not be familiar with, right? And that shows that we care. So these are all some of the behaviors that are really in our DE at Nespresso globally, is to, inspire, act, care, and innovate. That's kind of like our grassroots mantra right now. And we see it in the choices that we make and the partners that we take on.
Yeah, that means these brands have to actually stand behind their missions and their values, because people and consumers are watching, and some of them are not watching because they already are there, and they're buying their goods and they're participating in what they're giving out, but they're standing back trying to make decisions now. People don't just jump to make decisions. They do their research. They want to know what's going on before they spend their dollars, or before they spend their time, or before they back these brands. So I agree. All of these companies and brands, they need to stand behind their mission and their values. And again, I think Nespresso and Nestle, you guys do a great job at that. And I honestly think Quench does it as well. And like I said, Nespresso, you guys are pretty much at the top of the industry when it comes to showing and being transparent about what you do for your communities, for your team members, and for your consumers. And it's where everyone wants to be. And I think you guys, again, you do such an amazing job with that. And sitting down speaking with you today, so much knowledge, so much that our Quench consumers can take from this, and also just people who are just listening, and they want to know, what are brands doing, how can I make decisions on participating or buying, or repping these brands, as they say. Brands have to stand behind their mission and their values, and they actually have to own up to it. And I like when you said they can't stay in the gray. It's either you're going to do it or you're not, and stop talking about it. So I love that. I love that. And
Listen, we do fun things too. We do a lot of fun things for engagement, that I feel are always like great ways to just celebrate the brand and some of the uniqueness around it. We just sponsored the Oscars. We just sponsored the NBA draft. That was super fun. A lot of tall people. Yeah. But we also have these moments where we want to celebrate. We want to bring a coffee experience forward. I have my coffee traditions, as I'm sure you do, and anyone listening. And I'm picky about my coffee now, but that's just the nature of my role, right? I can be a little like, no, I don't want this. I know exactly how I want my coffee.
Right.
But I always think about what's behind the scenes that's allowing me to have that moment, right? Like, what's the impact I'm doing right now? And it may be 7 a.m, so I'm not really impact heavy quite yet. But I love that every capsule I brew of a specific coffee is going towards something, right? And I know it seems heavy first thing in the morning, but it's still a big part of ensuring that my life, that the choices I make have some kind of purpose, right? And I think people have been in positions as it relates to question, like, what am I doing for the broader good? How, like, whose shoulders am I standing on? How am I playing it forward? And coffee aside, even coffee is great. There's still a ton of other ways through that coffee lens that we can continue as a collective human race to put things forward, right? Because there's been moments when I've been humbled, right? I've been on 5 coffee farms, and every time I step foot in Costa Rica, Brazil, Colombia, I get the opportunity to speak to a farmer, and I think I have a tough job sometimes. I think that and then you sit there and you listen to the appreciation and the respect and the honor for the for the nature and the ground and the environment they get to work in, and the selflessness, and all of these things, and you're like, wow, I don't even think about that, the story that's behind this coffee. And I feel shame on me, because we talk about making a better blueprint for the next generation to follow. We talk about humanizing all experiences whenever possible. We talk about amplifying other stories so that people can see that it's more than just X, Y, and Z, more than shoes, coffee, whatever. And are we doing a good enough job, right? Could I do better at putting this forward? Could I, where's my responsibility lying? Could I do more than what I'm in charge of? And so I think it continues to evolve and pick up momentum, right? And create this virtual cycle of like learning, understanding, and that ebb and flow gives us a richer output, right? For other people to be able to take notice on, to be able to absorb into their own ecosystems. Almost like playing that game telephone we played as a kid. Ooh, I am dating myself. When you would like whisper something and then by the end, and so like it's my job to start that message, right? It's your job like, through the series of podcasts to start those messages. But then how do we continue to share that so we keep, the integrity of what we're trying to say and the message trying to get across so others can also hear that. And that is in itself is a strong tool to use, right? That affects all of us. So I'm very excited that you're doing this. I'm sure it's been a lot of heavy lifting and labor of love, but yeah, a lot of great things happening on both sides of our businesses right now.
Yes, I wanted to create a platform where we can talk and speak, not just about water and coffee and just the things you see, but the things that are kind of, buried underneath that makes those things that grow, right? So I wanted this platform to be this, and having conversations and meeting new people and building partnerships and relationships is important to me. And I think our consumers see that and they want to know what's going on, and I want to be able to bring it to them in the most positive light as possible. And this is my baby. This podcast is my baby that I want to nurture and grow and learn and like I said, build relationships. So I'm always humble to speak with everyone on the podcast, and even in person I'm humble to speak with people to learn, because I want to build my own knowledge base so I can share with people. So when you have these important conversations, you can speak about what's going on. Yes, I do work for Quench, but one thing about it, Quench does the good for the community, and this is what we do. This is our mission. These are our values. And speaking with other partners, such as Nespresso and Nestle, to learn what they do and bring it to other people. And when I'm in conversation, I just don't say, "Oh yeah, we sell Nespresso," but do you know what Nespresso is? So this is what this platform is for. And so I'm so happy that you took the time to speak with me today. And I hope we can speak, in the future too as things progress. Because every day, like I said, I follow you guys on LinkedIn. There's something new every day. And yeah, do you have any last words you'd like to speak about or leave our listeners with?
I think I have 2 points. I'm gonna say 2.5. I'm a half person. One, for
Okay.
those that are following, because you brought up a really good point. LinkedIn is a fantastic platform that allows for us to share updates on what we're doing in regards to the commitments we've made as a brand globally, right? And so, like, if you're following Nespresso and you're kind of like keeping track of what we're doing in regards to sustainability, in January of this year, we launched our 2030 Positive Cup. And to give you guys a quick snapshot of what that looks like, there are 5 categories that we're focusing on within that Positive Cup. Each category has the support of a third party that helps us create the KPIs, holds us accountable to those KPIs, and they have these profound impact on the business and in the societies that we farm within, right? So we talk about decarbonizing the value chain and working with SBT, which is Science-Based Targets, NGO. We talk about advanced circularity and working with circulatourists. We talk about inspiring collective action, right? That people part, and that's with B Lab. We talk about regenerative landscaping, that has us tied to Rainforest Alliance, and then empowering communities is where we kind of sit and partner with fair trade. So we have all of these happening at the same time in synergy that are designed to put us, above any other brand by the end of 2030, right? And a lot of milestones are integrated into each of those 5. And so again, if you want to know more, I encourage you to peel back that onion. There's a lot of good stuff there. And I did share with Gwen a quick video that kind of captures all of that, because I think that's also a unique component to like giving you a high level overview of what we're trying to strive to achieve as a broader Nespresso entity. And then the people part, right? Just the importance of the people, not the team members at Quench, team members at Nespresso, and we all have our jobs too. We're all laser focused on being successful in our own individual spaces. But there is always a human element to the choices that we make, right? There's always something that is going to be, that's going to connect us on an intimate level. And we want to make sure that we continue to never lose that, right? We always need to nurture that. And whether that's through listening to the series of podcasts and understanding the DNA and, ecosystem of each brand that you guys represent, whether that's looking at synergies between what you are as a team are passionate about and finding spaces or actions or initiatives within the espresso ecosystem that you truly resonate with, right? But finding a way to connect the dots will make it easier for you to tell a more holistic story, right? Because it feels like a story that you crafted. And so I encourage everyone to craft your own story when it comes to this partnership, one that serves you and serves what you are passionate about and has some overlap between the things we have in espresso and things we have at Quench, right? Because then it will feel authentic, it will feel organic, and it won't feel insincere. And that's kind of where I'm going to end things with that, Gwendolyn. So again, thank you for the time. It's been a wonderful afternoon, and always a pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you. And I hope to speak with you soon, Stacey. You enjoy your day. Bye-bye.